Today, we're going to start on a project that will probably span a lot of videos. That is, we are going to make the murdercaster, a homicide-themed strap. So in order to keep this build relatively low budget and be able to splurge where we need to, I'm going to try to reuse some parts. So this body, I am going to reuse. I'm going to remove everything. I'm going to strip it so it's just the body. And this is kind of a metallic white finish, which I was kind of hoping it was a little more plain, but we're going to sand it down a little so it's a little less shiny. And then I'm going to try to make it look like bone. Okay, so I'm going for a kind of old cracked bone look. So I need to get some of this gloss off of the body. So I'm going to use micro mesh pads, and I don't want to take off much. I just want to take off a little of the shininess because, bone's not shiny. And we're going to see, what that does, if anything. So I ended up using 3200 and 2400 grit micro mesh, and it didn't do much, but it took a bit of the shininess off, and that's what I was going for. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to attempt to make some appropriate looking cracks in the side to, resemble bone that's been in the ground or cracked as a result of injury or death or time. I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to take a razor blade and I'm going to try to score and make little cracks in this finish. So I have absolutely no idea if this will work, but well, here goes. So I'm thinking like jagged, almost lightning bolt like. So let's see. Okay, you can definitely score this finish pretty easily. And again, I'm trying not to take away too much material. I want to make a little bit of a groove so that the line will show up, but I don't want to make like something egregious that I cannot fix, and I don't want to take a chunk out. So there wasn't really any plan or any kind of template here. I just kind of looked at it and went for it. You don't want to put too many cracks because then it looks a little too busy, but if there's only one crack, it's a little boring. So I kind of just eyeballed it, and I did the best I could. So here's what it looks like. It took quite a while to cut all those grooves in with the razor blade, and I'm honestly surprised that I didn't slice my hand open at some point. And hopefully, when I apply the shoe polish over the top, the black will go into those grooves, and they'll look like, bone cracks instead of gouges with the razor blade. Okay, so for the next step, we're just going to use some black shoe polish. I have a shirt that I sacrificed for science. So I'm going to go over it with this very generally, and then I may fill in the cracks with the brush to make sure that they get all the black shoe polish. Okay, let's see how this looks. Okay. All right, so now I'm just going to try and get in there with a brush. This brush is pretty large, so I'm not sure how well this is really going to work. Okay, so if I can actually get it into the grooves, it seems to be working pretty well. The problem is coloring inside the lines is very difficult because the lines are jagged and made with a razor blade. As long as I can kind of control those smudges, it should be okay. So this actually wasn't that difficult, as long as I remembered to instantly blot up all the excess. Wasn't much of a problem, and I started to get excited here because finally it's kind of starting to look like how I intended it to look. There's a lot of little cracks and stuff that I couldn't really get in with the shoe polish, so I'm just gonna Sharpie it up just a little bit, just fix that. And just to make sure that, you know, I kind of get all those little pieces of wood. So I don't think it's quite scuffed up enough. It's still a little too white and nice. So I'm gonna take some very recently used coffee grounds and I'm just gonna see if I can mess it up just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna call that completely unsuccessful. It now smells like coffee and it looks exactly the same and there's coffee grounds all over my table. Okay, so after the abject failure of coffee grounds, I was a little disheartened. How am I gonna get this guitar to look like a dirty old bone that's been in the ground for 20 years? And then it hit me. Dirt. Dirt makes things look dirty. You know, may not work, but at least it won't make the guitar smell like coffee. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my spray bottle and I'm just gonna spray a little bit of water in here. So this is just this is just topsoil that I use to grow pepper plants. And I just had it lying around. So I just get a little bit of moisture in there, maybe a little bit more than I have in there now. So I'm just spreading the dirt around, working it in with my hands. I actually did this about 6 times. Every time I got a little muddier. The finish is very resistant to any kind of dirt, so there wasn't a huge impact, but you know, after enough tries, we did get a little bit of a change to the appearance. So one last thing to try, and that's brown shoe polish. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. Good Lord. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of brown. All right, well, I guess I better just brown up the whole surface now. Oof. Okay, well, we're gonna have to see if we can fix that somehow. Maybe a little sanding. Yeah, you can sand it off, so. Just gonna get some of the smearier parts that don't really fit in, which is most of them. So this was kind of a time-consuming process, especially on the sides and contours. There was a lot of applying too much polish and then sanding it off, and then going back and doing the same thing over and over again. But as you'll see, I think the end result was pretty good. So there's one more thing I want to try. When I went to go get the shoe polish, I also got a little set of brushes, so I'm just going to see if I can brush into some cracks a little bit better than I did yesterday. So using the smaller brush made this a lot easier. I was really able to get into all the little nooks and crannies of each of the cracks, and they really pop quite a bit more. And there we are. That's I think about as good as I am going to be able to get it. So in the end, I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out. It passes the test that I set for myself at the start of this, which was, if I bought this on Reverb, would I be satisfied or would I want to return it? And I think I would keep it. So that's good enough for me. In terms of time spent, it was probably about 5 hours to do this and film, but you could probably get it down to about 90 minutes once you know what you're doing and you eliminate all the useless steps. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the crazy neck that I bought. In my opinion, the neck is one of the most important parts in any guitar, or human.